Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'd ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin,
Here.
Councilmember Zimmer,
Here.
Councilmember Dewey.
Here.
Councilmember Gibbons.
Here.
Councilmember Litzo.
Here.
Councilmember Sears.
Here.
Councilmember Wertz.
Here.
Thank you. We will go straight to public comments.
The public comments portion of the meeting is an opportunity for the city council to listen to comments from citizens. It is not a question and answer session, and the city council will not respond to comments or answer questions during this period. The mayor may refer any matter brought up to the city council to the chief administrative officer or city clerk if action is needed.
Thank you. David, do we have anyone wishing to speak?
Mayor and council, we have a few requests for comment this evening. The first is Molly LeBlanc.
Good evening. Most of you know me, but I will introduce myself. I am Molly LeBlanc. I'm the HR manager here at the city of Kirkwood. Been in that position for about a little over 5 years now. And I'm here to try to convince you to vote yes on the loggers issue this evening. I'm sure you all read my budget, the budget book last year, and the comments in the HR portion of that. We are really struggling with turnover. Turnover now is 3 times what it was when I started, and it has been running that high for over 2 years now. But we've automated processes, we've streamlined processes, we're able to keep up with that turnover. What we struggle with now is a qualified applicant pool. I have made 4 offers for the assistant city engineer position in the last 5 months, only to be turned down every single time. We had one candidate that we were wanting to make an offer to for that position, and he did not meet the minimum qualifications and was unable to pass the EIT exam, so we couldn't even make the offer to him. Currently, we have our recreation program manager position advertised. We have 40 applicants for that position. You'd think I'd be thrilled with that, right? 40 applicants is a lot. None of those applicants work for another municipality in a similar position. We are not getting qualified applicants because highly qualified applicants for the positions that I fill work for other governmental agencies. So I don't know why we're not getting applicants, but I suspect that it's because those employees in other cities like the fact that they have a defined benefit pension and they don't want to give that up to come work for the city of Kirkwood. That is the only difference that I can see between the benefits that we offer our employees and those benefits offered by other municipalities in the region. Extensive research was done before I even got here that loggers was an optimal choice to establish a defined benefit pension plan here at the city of Kirkwood. And the best part was it was really affordable. We understand concerns about future limitations, but I'm having a hard time imagining a scenario where we would want to get out of loggers. Virtually every municipality in the region has taken on this risk for their employees. The presence of a defined benefit pension plan is why people go to work for a government. They accept the lower pay because they know that they'll be taken care of in their retirement. The employees of Kirkwood don't have that. They don't have the opportunity to say, I'm going to be safe in my retirement. So when you vote this evening, and if you vote against loggers, remember that it's not just a decision on paper. It directly impacts all the hardworking people that make the city of Kirkwood run. Thank you.
Andy Huber.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. First and foremost, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight about the importance of loggers. I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of the civilian employees. My name is Andy Huber. I'm the GIS technician and chair of our employee advisory committee here at the City of Kirkwood. The employee advisory committee has been meeting for 2 years now. And every single one of these meetings, loggers is discussed as the main issue. Part of our duties on this committee is to read and respond to employee issues or concerns submitted by our coworkers. Nearly every month, these submissions relate directly to our inability to move to loggers. Loggers is what employees believe will benefit the city the most. It is the pension plan with security and stability that employees want to be able to count on. And we as Team Kirkwood work hard and we foster a sense of pride in the community by providing support services to our citizens and stakeholders. We are not just workers, we're human beings and people who have families and loved ones to look after and provide for. Now, looking at the strategic plan set forth by this council, we believe this is a real opportunity to take action on the vision and values you've defined, and specifically these three. The first value is we service the community. We provide services of the highest quality. Our customer services exceed expectation. Our interactions with the public are respectful, professional, and demonstrate our commitment to public service, and we keep the community safe. A second is we put people first. We care about people and their well-being, and we consider how decisions directly and indirectly impact our residents, businesses, and employees. Another example being we value City of Kirkwood employees. We appreciate and respect our city employees. We recognize their knowledge, their experience, and their commitment to service. Goal 2 of the strategic plan has strategies listed such as attract and retain top municipal employees through competitive pay and benefits and a great work environment, along with pursue enhanced retirement program. What better way to achieve the vision, values, and goals than to vote in favor of loggers? Loggers doesn't give us workers anything more or even better benefits than our neighbors. In fact, at best, it puts us on par with surrounding municipalities. Kirkwood is one of a handful of municipalities in Missouri who do not have a defined benefit program. Close to 40 surrounding municipalities or local governments are enrolled in defined benefit programs. You have an opportunity to do something truly impactful for this organization. So tonight, I ask that you vote in support of not just loggers, but also in support of our city employees. To vote tonight, not based on political ideology, but based on the data and the people who work hard every day to ensure the success of this great city. Thanks.
Georgia Ragland.
Georgia Ragland, 1811 Enola Court. So I moved to Kirkwood in 1998 to become the city's Assistant Chief Administrative Officer. One of the departments that directly reported to me was the HR department, and I was responsible for administering the city's compensation and benefits. Over the course of 2 decades, I worked with several compensation and benefit consultants and participated in dozens of compensation and benefit surveys, some on the city's behalf and some originating with other cities, with the promise of results being shared with all participants. Every one of our consultants told us our defined contribution pension plan was not competitive and made us less desirable compared to the defined benefit pensions, particularly loggers, that our comparator cities offered. This is key because Kirkwood doesn't offer pay or other benefits that make up for this disadvantage. Pay and other benefits are just middle of the road compared to the other cities with whom we really compete for experienced and competent employees, such as Clayton, Creve Coeur, Maryland Heights, and others. One of the things I really admired about the City Council when I came to Kirkwood was their willingness to seek out and listen to experts. You've brought in experts to look at traffic safety, annually examine the city's financial reporting, evaluate the city's water system, and build a state-of-the-art performing arts center. Why not listen to the consistent advice of benefit experts, your own staff, and the overwhelming desire of the city's civilian employees? Being a competitive public employer that is able to attract and retain really good employees to offer top-notch services to our residents is a good thing for all of Kirkwood. I understand that moving civilian employees to loggers is a big change and that the status quo is a lot easier. For one thing, it's a permanent move, but that's not necessarily bad. It makes loggers a more stable system and it's reassuring for the employees. It doesn't leave the council with no control over costs, as cities facing financial difficulties can move back and forth between benefit levels. And if you wonder about buyer's remorse, I can tell you that with many discussions with city managers and assistants at MCMA conferences and other meetings, I have yet to find any city that has any regrets of being part of the logger system. I've been passionate about improving the city's pension plan since the first time I sat down with a representative from ICMA, which at that time was the company administering the civilian pension plan and the city's deferred compensation plan. She was almost frantic in her need to tell me that our plan was not meeting our employees' retirement needs. We've made incremental changes over the years and it's gotten better, but it's not ever going to compare with what loggers can offer. Individual employees cannot time the market. Studies show that most employees after a market downturn move their money into safer choices and only move their money back after they're sure markets are back on an upward swing, which means they have lost the advantage of any market rebound they would have had if they'd left their money where it was. Doing that even a couple of times during a career can result in them having almost 30% less of a final balance than they would otherwise have. Even with advice from financial advisors, from our pension plan administrators, people panic when they see their balances declining, or they take the opposite approach and invest way too conservatively. Loggers will produce better results and in a much more efficient manner. There will be people who ask, why should Kirkwood employees have something I don't have? I think people who ask that don't understand the difference between public and private employers. Defined benefit pension plans they are well suited for public employees, since people like city employees or teachers tend to not do a lot of job hopping. Benefits have always been a trade-off for lower compensation. Most importantly, going with loggers puts us on a level playing field with the other cities with whom we compete for employees, and that can only be a good thing for the entire city. Maggie, Mark, Bob, I've always believed you're sincere when you've spoken about how much you appreciate and value our city employees. Tonight, this is a big decision, one that's tremendously important to employees, their future well-being, and to the city as we struggle to attract and retain the quality employees who make Kirkwood an extraordinary place to live. Please vote in favor of moving the civilian employees to loggers.
Ed Golterman.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Ed Golderman, 542 Waddell Court over near the community college. If I were still driving, I would love to have that little pink car out there. But that's just a dream of mine. A couple of things that have to do with fiscal responsibility that I would like to share with you. One has to do with the building that your council and I are very, very familiar with downtown. It's a building that I went as a kid to look in the wonderful exhibits in the windows over Christmas time. It's a building where we would have, I guess, that soup, that good soup. It's a building that I believe he worked in. Be very cautious that you might hear that this is a regional asset, because when I hear the word regional asset, that means that St. Louis County taxpayers are going to pay for it. So that building is not an asset. It was years ago, but it's a no-win, total no-win situation. Either taking it down or trying to restore it is just protect, maybe take a note that we'll use no county taxpayer money in that. Secondly, I've contacted the city officials of De Pere and Webster. I bother them a lot, Webster Groves and Crestwood. And I would ask you all to join together to oppose any attempt to raise taxes that the St. Louis County Council is very likely to do. Make a stand for your citizens. Make a stand whether you win or lose. Go after it, go to battle, and just say, no, absolutely not, win or lose. And then finally, I have the privilege tomorrow to give 25 years of experience in the area of historic assets. What is a historic asset? What isn't an historic asset? This is getting very hot again every 10 years. The problem is we keep talking about the same thing, and it's a very confusing topic, but I've lived it for 25 years, and I'm beginning tomorrow morning to offer my experience and my guidance for those who would like it. Thank you, Mayor.
Jonathan Raish.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Raish, and I'm the Planning and Development Services Director for the City of Kirkwood. Mayor and Council, thank you for your time tonight and over the past multiple years that the topic of loggers has been discussed. I consider myself fortunate to have the opportunity to be a part of Team Kirkwood and to be able to use my professional talents to contribute to such a great community and a great governmental entity. I know many of my colleagues feel the same. Kirkwood employees appreciate the time that you afforded us back in February during the work session on this topic, and I hope you've had adequate time to digest the information we provided that night, as well as the various information that was put together in response to many of Council's questions, and as was alluded to earlier by Georgia, the information that's been provided over many, many years on this topic. As a department head and a supervisor, I believe there are many benefits to the city as an organization, the community of Kirkwood, and to city employees by joining loggers. We've discussed these in detail, but it all comes back to retaining and recruiting highly qualified professionals to provide the highest quality of services that Andrew referenced as well. As of now, we are here tonight as a city with a direct contribution plan. Because of the volatility of the market, there is no one here tonight who can tell me or my fellow employees what our retirement income will be if we choose to continue to dedicate the rest of our careers to Kirkwood under a direct contribution plan. Tonight, you have the ability to vote to join loggers. This move will allow all of us to have a much higher certainty of what our retirement income will be. This is the industry standard for government entities in the state of Missouri. It is all about the security of a guaranteed income that can substantially contribute to our retirement so that we do not become a burden on our children by outliving our retirement funds. It has been shown that the city can afford this change. I've heard multiple comments about what if scenarios related to future costs, But I would like you to consider a scenario where employees continue to be dissatisfied with the city's retirement plan. How many more will leave or not come at all? You have been presented with a problem that has been identified by city employees, and this problem has been acknowledged in the council's strategic plan. There has been much research and time committed to providing you with accurate data on which to base your decision. Rather than basing your decision on what-if scenarios of theoretical out-of-control cost increases that is not consistent with the historic trends in loggers, I ask that you rely upon the likely scenario supported by the data and vote in favor of loggers tonight. Thank you for your time.
Mayor and council, there are no additional requests for comment at this time.
David? Just come up, give us your name and address.
Hi, my name is Sandra James, and I used to live in Kirkwood before I went
Could
to
you
Denver,
speak into the
Colorado.
mics because
Oh.
we're being live streamed. You're on TV.
Oh, okay. All right. I used to live in Kirkwood before I went to Denver, but I was recruited to Denver and I came back after being in Denver 5 years and I'm back here. There was a couple things. I just want to offer a service because I'm also a paralegal, an executive office administrator, and I recently, and a notary public, and I just want to, I do it as a mobile notary public. So I want to offer my services to people that either can't get out or want someone needs some help with something of that. I'm doing it as a mobile notary and I'm trying to do it at no expense to either one. I'm trying to offer it as a community service free of charge. That's all.
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, we will now move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve? Motion. For second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion passes. We'll move on to unfinished business bill 11001.
Mayor and council, this is an ordinance appropriating $500,000 from the general fund balance to the building and site improvements account for a real estate transaction.
This is second reading on this, and I think many now probably realize what this has to do with the resolution we have coming up, Resolution 112, 2023. So are there any other questions or comments on this bill? All right, seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin.
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey,
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons,
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo. Yes. Councilmember Sears,
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz.
Yes.
Bill passes. Move on to new business, Bill 11002.
Mayor and council, this is an ordinance amending the provisions of the Municipal Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, Industrial Development Authority regarding requirements for directors.
Is there a motion for approval? Motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Do we have any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all in favor of first reading, please say aye.
Aye.
Say no. Bill passes first reading. Bill 11003.
Mayor and council, this is an ordinance appropriating $27,714 from the Equitable Sharing Fund balance to the Police Department rolling stock account, accepting the bid of Polaris Sales Incorporated in the amount of $27,713.64 pursuant to a Sourcewell cooperative contract for the purchase of a Polaris Ranger Crew XP 1000 for the police department and authorizing and directing the director of procurement to issue a purchase order.
Is there a motion for approval? I got a
Second.
motion and a
Mhm.
second. Do we have any questions or comments? Councilmember Gibbons?
Well, I was wondering how many of these we own in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming that the police department has 0 at this time. And do they need a trailer and where will they house it? And
You assume correctly, the police department has 0 at this time. We do own one UTV in the city currently. It's in the fire department. This particular unit that would be purchased, this Polaris unit, would be housed in the garage directly below the police department, and it would have a trailer as well.
And that's included in the price, I guess, right?
Mhm.
The trailer.
Anything else from council? All right, seeing nothing further, all in favor of first reading, please say aye.
Aye.
Say no. Bill passes first reading. Bill 11004.
Mayor and council, this is an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission Transportation Enhancements Funds Program Agreement for the TAP 5502-616 Grants Trail Extension Phase 1 project.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
A
Second.
sec- We got a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments? Councilmember Gibbons?
So this is putting the two grants together, is that correct?
Yes, Phase 1 and Phase 2 will be able to be combined under this scenario.
Okay,
I
and
want to
the
make sure that I answer that without Jonathan
Oh.
here, but if he wants to clarify. I know that we've been approved to do that, whether this actually does that or not, I had to hold back before
It
saying.
does, but it's phase 1A and 1B.
1B,
just
1,
for-
thank
So,
you.
yeah.
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
Still the first half. Phase 2 is the eastern portion, but it does combine them.
It's 1A and 1B. That is correct. Thank you.
And there's a thing in here about calming devices. Are we gonna actually have barriers between a bike path and a street?
Okay, so the majority of this design, again, it's not finalized, right? The grant was with a concept design, right? But the majority of this is for an off-road facility, a shared path that would be physically
Separate.
separated from the roadway. Traffic calming, because the projects end, both phases together would end at Leffingwell. To connect from Leffingwell to the current trailhead, it goes on road. And so the traffic calming measures are about making those connections safer as well with these. So.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else from council? All right, seeing nothing further, all in favor of first reading, please say aye.
Aye.
Say no. Bill passes first reading. Bill 11005.
Mayor and council, this is an ordinance authorizing the city of Kirkwood's participation as a loggers employer commencing on February 1, 2024.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. I'm going to say a few things to start, but before I do, and this is directed at council, this decision is a yes or a no on loggers. It's not talking about the current plan, how it's good, how it's bad, how it can be improved, or future plans. And I'm going to stick to that tonight. It's a vote yes or no on loggers. How people vote, up to everybody individually, but we're not going to get off into scenarios and different things. And I'm going to hold people to that. All right, a few comments from me, how did we get here? This has been obviously on a discussion for a long time. And I guess in the last 2 years or so, it's become something very, very important to the civilian employees and vocal about it. This has, due to the Charter Amendment 1987, this has nothing to do with police or fire joining loggers, has something to do with their benefits because of parity, but it has nothing to do with them. And so this, for the last 2 years, we've heard, you've come, we've gotten data, a lot of different things. And, in my mind, I'm just trying to keep the whole thing very, very simple. You deserve a yes or a no vote. I mean, civilian employees, I don't know the exact number, the great majority of employees. So after this, you deserve yes or no. To me, it's really a pretty simple answer. People can have different reasons or ways of thinking about retirement. Some people retire very well with 401k plans, for whatever it is, IRAs, whatever. To me, that's not the main point of this. To me, it all has to do with competition. Every business, my business, the legal business, every business has its own thing. And it just so happens that in government business defined benefit is what is, that's the thing. You know, we use basically 19 comparators. 17 of those have defined benefit plans across this, the state. And I think I'm correct, there's 4 municipalities who don't. If we don't think that does not harm our ability to keep and retain employees, I think we're fooling ourselves. The competition in the business is very, very real. I go to mayor's meetings and they're stunned when they find out a city like Kirkwood does not have a defined benefit plan. You know, we've got a lot of input over the years, great input from individuals, citizens. I've had a 2-year ongoing conversation with a gentleman who's adamantly opposed to this, but we've talked about it. And we've great input from our finance committee members, great input from our pension board members. And now it's our job to sit down and look, what do we think is best for the city of Kirkwood? The one thing we do, and the only thing we really do is serve citizens, serve residents. And if we are not able to provide the best department head of X or the best employee of this, we are doing ourselves a great, great disservice. I know a lot has been said about risk. Every decision we make, you know, we look at risk and try to quantify it. You cannot overstate risk. I think that is one thing that's been really, really focused on in a lot of conversations, the things that, well, what could possibly go wrong? I think the guardrails are on this. They are there. We can adjust benefits. We can go up and down. And I will tell you this, you know, I've been at this 26 and a half years, and I would not suggest and vote to go to something if I thought it was a potential financial problem for Kirkwood citizens. The guardrails are there. And if we ever get to a point where we have a problem with funding our pension, that's about 10 down the list. We have much bigger problems. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to council, but I want to let everyone know from the beginning, I do support and will vote to move citizen employees into the loggers program. All right, so I'm going to go down the list tonight for that we have, and we're going to start with Councilmember Zimmer.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I'll be very brief. You know, obviously we've heard comments from employees as well as citizens. I wish it would have maybe played out a little differently. My concern would be that this doesn't cover all employees in Kirkwood, obviously because of the charter. And yeah, I think there is risk to everything that we do. We need to be competitive, whatever we do, and we need to make changes to continue to be competitive. If this passes, okay. If it doesn't, then we need to find a solution that will make us competitive.
Councilmember Dewey.
This is not an easy one. First, thank you to everyone who works for the city of Kirkwood. Kirkwood is an amazing place, and much of the credit goes to our employees. I consider several of you to be my friends, and one is my neighbor. Loggers has been a consideration for years, and as I think I have mentioned at the very beginning of my first term, I was told loggers would likely be the biggest issue I would deal with. And sitting here this evening, 7.5 years later, I would agree. But I'm not going to list the issues I have with loggers tonight. Others have and will. I am, however, going to talk about a meeting where two other council members and I, making us three, which was sunshine law intact, met with someone of extensive knowledge about insurance several weeks ago. And this person had some very interesting things to offer, many that have been brought up before today more than once. Quite a while ago, a letter was written with many of the person's ideas to be considered. The answers were received, in my opinion, were brief and somewhat dismissive. But as loggers did not pass that vote, we did not pursue the ideas further. Now, however, before we move further, I think it very important that these alternatives be given full hearing and full consideration with council and with staff representation. Before we actually do commit the city to a situation that cannot be reversed in perpetuity, we owe it to the people of Kirkwood who strongly voted against this to look further. This is a plea to not become part of something from which we can never leave. This is a plea to see what else can be considered in the full light of day. And in the full light of day of honest consideration. And it may turn out that loggers is the best path, but we should and we must at the very least listen and consider fully the alternatives with open minds from all parties before we make such an unending commitment.
Councilmember Gibbons.
Thank you. I have an email list that I send out on a regular basis, and I asked our citizens that I send that out to about this question, and overwhelmingly they came back and said no, they do not want the city of Kirkwood to go into a pension program. I agree with Councilmember Dewey that we need to look at all kinds of alternatives. This loggers was put on the ballot in 2018 and was turned down substantially by our citizens. And again, I heard from citizens directly this week that they are not in favor. But we do need to, and I want to prop up our employees. And there's no reason we can't be looking at competitive pay, look at additional benefits, and look at additional retirement programs.
Councilmember Litzo.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate what the three council members who spoke before me, what they've had to say, and Maggie and Liz and Mark so eloquently, especially Maggie. I feel you laid out the thinking much along the lines of my own thinking. I was not on council when this matter came up in 2021 and 22, when the proposal was pulled from the agenda. I was here for the 2015, the 2017, 2018 considerations. I have studied it. I appreciate all the answers to my questions from staff, from the loggers people. I still have many, many questions that have not been answered to my satisfaction. I may be accused of being too much of a detail-oriented and nitpicker, but I am not. I have too many questions still out there about cost right now, long-term cost. As Maggie said, what about our current plan? Can we please consider this discussion of retirement benefits comprehensively so that I feel comfortable making such a decision as engaging in an agreement that is perpetual and irrevocable. I understand what our employees want. It certainly makes sense to want and expect a guaranteed income for the rest of their life. And many do not want to have to manage their own retirement accounts. I get that.
I don't feel that loggers really, it's not a one size fits all in my view. For anyone who comes to work for the city of Kirkwood, if they don't stay for 5 years and vest, they will lose 9.3% of their salary. They will forfeit that huge amount of their salary. It will go to the loggers fund. It will go to Kirkwood's loggers fund. They'll get back their 4% contribution with interest, but they will lose 9.3% contributed by the city on their behalf. If they make, let's say, $44,000 a year, that contribution is approximately $4,000. If they stay just for 3 years or 4 years, we're talking about a lot of money. And many of our employees, no employee wants to forfeit that kind of money. But many of those who are making, let's say, $4,000 a year can ill afford to forfeit that large amount of money. I feel like that is one of the big drawbacks of loggers. It compels employees to stay, invest. We do have departments where regardless of the economy, there's high turnover. We have several in sanitation right now who joined us. I don't know, if they're going to stay around or they're going to go back to school, they're going to find better employment. Those are the people who could be harmed by going to loggers. I have other questions about it. Nothing is perfect. But I, like Maggie, would really like us to take a long, hard look at, what the options are. At loggers itself, we've had a lot of changes in the economy we had a 5% CPI adjustment this year that was not planned. We had $300,000 or $400,000 for self-insurance. We had $300,000 or $400,000 for workers' comp. We've had lots of unplanned additions to the budget. That seems to be kind of a regular thing these days as the economy, inflation, the war in Ukraine, things kind of go sideways and it's not all that predictable anymore. I just really want to feel like making this momentous decision. I want to feel more confident that I haven't left any stone unturned in making sure that I can make this decision, not just for me on this council, but for all the rest of the councils that will come in the decades to come. So I very much appreciate all of our employees. I do get it. I've heard every single thing that they've said. This is my reasoning, and I present these reasons with all absolute due respect for all of our employees. Thank you.
Councilmember Sears.
I'm embarrassed. I'm disappointed. I've been on this council for a while. I was involved when loggers was first brought up. I've heard now from 3 council people, 2 of whom specifically have said, we've looked at it for 8.5 years. I'm not ready to decide. I don't get it. I mean, I admit at the very beginning, I did not care for this program. Okay. I thought some of the problems that were cited tonight, they bothered me. I asked questions, I got answers. Some of them I had to re-ask, some of them I had to go back again and get, through a different angle. But ultimately, I can tell you, it took a while. It did not take me 6, 7, 8 years to get the answers that I needed to make a decision. One of the problems that is brought up is that people, when people discuss this, and by the way, well, let me back up. So we put it toward the voters. It was a vote to amend our charter to include fire and police. That was the question. And that was the thing voted on. And that's, you know, the lesson I learned. We're coming back now with one that doesn't include them, doesn't need a change of the charter. There have been people who've said, you know, we shouldn't go into loggers because, you know, the stock market investments, it's unknown, could fail, you know, whatever. Well, there's that risk, but as the mayor pointed out, it's manageable. It's not going to happen all at once. The plan has in place protections for the municipalities that it can only go up 1% each year, that it returns. And historically, it has shown that it has come down for municipalities when after the times when it has had to be increased. We're in it forever, yes, but we can reduce our involvement in loggers down to the lowest point that it allows, in which case we would be using other programs to support our employees. So I think the mayor's term was that there's guardrails in place, and I believe that's the appropriate term. There are guardrails in place. What that argument ignores, however, is the known, the actual risks that we see in front of us. And everybody is just not talking about, not acting as if they don't exist. That's employee retention, employee satisfaction, employee recruiting. Not to mention the fact that it's possible that a person could care for the future of our employees. These are real problems that we know are happening, that we know are on the table. And we're going to say, well, we'll ignore those. Those aren't so important. They have to do with what? The employees. What's important is the risk that the stock market might go up, even though there are the guardrails in place that the mayor talked about. Or people say that we should just treat our employees like the private sector treats theirs and not provide one of these defined benefit plans and have them all in a defined contribution plan. The big difference between them, when those private businesses are making decisions about their employees and whether they have a good enough retirement plan, they're paying them an amount where they have money to contribute to a retirement plan. Most government entities have said, well, we'll balance it the other way. We won't. I worked for the state of Missouri, appreciated the benefits, appreciated even though I was an attorney, if I'd go work in a private firm, I knew there'd be longer hours. I had pretty set hours when I worked there, great benefit. I had a few more days off. Every 4 years, we got inauguration day off. And we had a good retirement plan. And, that we understood that balanced the fact that in my case, I was probably, my first job from moving from state government to private practice was a 100% increase in pay. So I understood for most people, it's not that much, but I understood while I was working there that I was making less than I would make if I worked for anything but the government. So when you say, well, they should just rely on their retirement, on a contribution like the private sector does. Well, there's a huge difference there. People also bring up that there are plans around the country, a few that have failed. And there, programs not like we're talking about, but defined benefit plans that have failed. Well, there's big difference in that one too. And it has to do with the rule that says you can't withdraw. Those plans that fail that people point to are plans where a city council or a state government legislature had the opportunity, because of the way the plan was set up, to shift the money that they were contributing to those retirement plans to other places. They would say, well, to this year, we're going to build bridges. We aren't going to support the retirement plans because we feel like there's enough money in there. Then the next year, same thing happens, the next year, same thing. And ultimately the plan has to fail because you failed to make your appropriate contributions over the years. Well, this requires each of the communities who are participating to make those contributions during the year. Question about vesting. Vesting occurs in most retirement programs everywhere. And the important thing to remember here was said in the comments about vesting is that the employees get their contributions back. The portion that was put in by the city, yeah, they don't get back, but that's true most of us have experienced a vesting period, and that's what it's all about. Another thing that Councilmember Lutzo brought up was she cited as these unforeseen expenditures that we've had to be faced with. And so that's problematic for accepting loggers. $300,000 to $400,000 in health insurance, $300,000 or more in for workers' comp. That is the known in our face problem with having the plan that we have now. Those expenditures related to health insurance and workers' comp can directly correlate to employees who are staying because they can't afford to retire. So they are staying beyond the time when they normally would. As we all know, as you age, your health needs increase. Our employees will be using more in healthcare as the group ages. Our employees will have more, unfortunately, you can count on more accidents and things, more time somebody serves who is not as spry and sharp as they once were. So that's what I'm talking about. When we're balancing risk management, then it's an easy question now for me. Move to loggers where these things have guardrails, where these things are controlled, and we can then put guardrails around these other kinds of expenditure or known problems that are happening, like retention, recruiting, and health insurance and workers' comp expenditures. And for it to take, I'm sorry, I have to go back to it, but for it to take 8 years and, well, maybe we should think about it some more. There's might be something else out there that's better. I figured it out. And a leader, somebody who wants to hold this office ought to figure that out within a reasonable amount of time, within a reasonable amount of questions, have an answer, come up here and say, this is bad for the city. This is good for the city. I've spent, I don't know, throw a number up there, 2 years studying the issue and getting all the answers. But that's not what happened. And hopefully we can still, do the right thing.
Councilmember Wertz.
I want to start with quoting a CEO I used to work under who said, invest in your people and they will invest in you. As a finance person by trade, I was prepared tonight to pull out all the numbers and analysis to show that the savings in other areas will offset any perceived risk and cost increase. And while doing so, I want to remind everyone here that the amount we are talking about is 0.5% of our budget. We as a council have ceded more power for more power for more than that. And we have spent less time debating things that are worth 3 to 4 times that amount. And I don't say that to make light of the situation or minimize it, but to just bring it back to reality in the scope of things. Improving retirement benefits is not unique to Kirkwood today. The United Auto Workers is currently striking, and one of their demands includes a return to defined benefits so workers can confidently retire at a reasonable age. In my personal sphere, my employer just implemented a retirement match in order to remain competitive in other nonprofits in the region. The value of a good worker has increased greatly since COVID. What many businesses and private public entities are finding these days is what we've already covered, the forgotten and hidden costs associated with not investing in your employees. The amount we currently pay in attrition and hiring costs, which can sometimes be as much as 3 to 4 times that salary of that open position. What Councilmember Sears just mentioned, the amount of costs to insurance and workman's comp as we force workers to work longer in their lives. Both of these savings would offset any increased costs related to moving to loggers. But at the end of the day, this is more than the numbers. This is about ensuring we not only employ the best and brightest for our city, but we invest and support the employees who make Kirkwood their livelihood. Kirkwood is lucky that past generations and decisions have led us to a strong community, a strong revenue base, and a strong service structure that supports not only our municipality, but surrounding municipalities. We may do things in service for other municipalities, but we don't provide the same kind of benefits and support that those municipalities provide to their employees. And I find that very offsided. By not improving our retirement benefits to compete against other municipalities, we are at risk of losing this service structure. Since I have joined council, we have invested greatly in our buildings, our streets, but we have not invested highly in our own workforce. The people who ensure that these buildings stay functioning, the people who we as council members spend hours working with to form our policies and strategies. As it stands, the status quo is broken and not acceptable, and it's time we start supporting the future. So yeah, I'm in support of moving to loggers.
Thank you. Every council members had a chance to speak. Does anyone have any other comments or anything, questions that want to make? All right, with that, then we'll probably do hands just so it's easy for Laurie. All in favor of Bill 11005, please raise your right hand. Count 3. All opposed? We have 4. We have 3 in favor, 4 opposed. So it does not pass first reading, and the bill is dead. All right. We will go on to resolution 107-2023.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution of authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a fire station alerting system transfer of ownership agreement between the city of Kirkwood and St. Louis County, Missouri.
Is there a motion for approval?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments on the resolution? All right, seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin,
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey,
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons,
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo,
Yes.
Councilmember Sears,
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 108-2023.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution accepting the proposal of American Electric Power in the amount of $666,040 for the purchase of wholesale summertime block power for the summer of 2024 for the electric department and authorizing and directing the Director of Procurement to issue a purchase order.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin.
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer.
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey.
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo.
Yes.
Councilmember Sears.
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 109, 2023.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution accepting the proposal of American Electric Power in the amount of $713,011 for the purchase of wholesale summertime block power for the summer of 2025. I'm sorry, maybe I should put my readers on. 2025 for the Electric Department and authorizing and directing the Director of Procurement to issue a purchase order.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
We got a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin.
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer.
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey.
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo.
Yes.
Councilmember Sears.
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 110, 2023.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a supplemental agreement number 1 to engineering services contract with Crawford, Murphy and Tilly Incorporated by increasing the amount by $242,508.04 for a total not to exceed amount of $410,582.97 for right-of-way acquisition services and professional engineering and construction services for the STP 5502-611 North Kirkwood Road Improvement Project.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin.
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer.
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey.
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo.
Yes.
Councilmember Sears.
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 111, 2023.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution amending the purchase order with Viking Chives Midwest pursuant to Sourcewell Cooperative Contract by increasing the amount by $3,580 for a total amount of $116,056 for the purchase of a 2024 Ford F-550 chassis with Viking Chives dump body for the street department and authorizing and directing the Director of Procurement to issue an amended purchase order.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Councilmember Gibbons?
Well, it was noted that the order didn't come in time and that the price went up. And is there just a delay of paperwork shuffle or?
I don't know that there was any delay. It's just it didn't get in time. I mean, they can change their prices without notice to us at any time. You could approve it tonight and it could raise the price before tomorrow morning. So, I mean, we just found out after it was approved that it went up $3,000.
Hey,
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin.
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer.
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey.
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons.
yes.
Councilmember Lizzo.
Yes.
Councilmember Sears.
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 112, 2023.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a purchase agreement and a lease agreement with Sabata Properties LLC.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second? Now we've got a motion and a second. I'm gonna make a couple brief comments. This is big. Ever since the idea of the Performing Arts Center downtown, and even before that, I mean, the Public Works facility for decades has been out of place. And now, with the Performing Arts Center and other new things going on there, it has to move. I mean, one of the things that the Performing Arts Center was hoping to increase economic vitality down there. And I think we've all had questions over the years from different people. Hey, when are you going to do something with that? You know, you look at this beautiful new center and you've got, with all due respect to Public Works, you got a Public Works, you know, garage here with trucks and salt and everything. So with purchasing this property, we are now able, in the long run, to move Public Works to a more suitable location, give us the opportunity to sell the Public Works property and have a development there that just complements not just the Performing Arts Center, but the entire area, and just really make it a much better place. Now, before I go to council comments, I'm going to have Chief Administrative Officer Hawes kind of go through the process of how we got, especially to the purchase price of 12.5 million. And if you'll go through that, that would be helpful to everyone.
Yes, yes, for the record, certainly the city, I'm going to start at the beginning.
All right.
It's usually a good place to start. The city recognized our Public Works facility is out of date in its current location and condition. And yes, this was exemplified and really made clear when we built the Performing Arts Center and identified that location and took a piece of the existing Public Works property, converted it to a park and built the Performing Arts Center there. We also have identified through a building space analysis and maintenance needs analysis that the existing Public Works facility is in need of major repair in the coming years that would total into the millions of dollars. So that entered us into a process where we could work to identify a location that would be suitable for Public Works for the coming decades to relocate for the long term in a more appropriate location than where it currently is. Having a Public Works facility in your downtown is not the best use of the city's assets. Public Works is an asset, but the land on which it sits is an asset as well. So we began a process to identify places that could work functionally for Public Works to locate from. This review was extensive. We looked outside the city limits, we looked inside the city limits, but we knew that you can't really work Public Works well from a distance more than a few miles outside the city limits. You have to have proximity. You have to be able to service the citizens in a reasonable amount of time, and you don't want to have mileage going back and forth. So we really focused our search for an alternative site or an alternate site within the city limits. And the city had to take into consideration that there are many industrial sites around Kirkwood and across St. Louis County. However, there are very few within the city of Kirkwood that could accommodate this need. Our smaller industrial area is down in the Leffingwell area, and we needed a parcel of at least 7 acres to accommodate all the trucks, the facilities that are necessary, and a building approximately 70,000 square feet at a minimum. Now, we could go buy the property outright and then put a new building on it, which would be very costly in comparison to identifying a workable structure that exists on an existing parcel. We feel that we found that parcel with the Sabata property. City approached Mr. Sabata, who owns the A. Mrazek Moving Company, a while back, and indicated our interest. We worked closely in analyzing the opportunity cost to the city. We brought in a consulting firm to assist us in site selection and the criteria that on which we could come to an appropriate price for the property. We identified the sale value per acre for commercial property within the city since 2018. Ranges from $800,000 per acre to approximately $6.4 million per acre. These records indicated an average per acre value for commercial property in Kirkwood at $2.3 million. This property that the Amarazic Moving Company exists on is 9 acres. It fits all our criteria. The building is 83,500 square feet and can be retrofitted to our purposes. It has large warehouse space, but we can convert it to garage space for fleet purposes and all the different aspects of what we provide our citizens out of public works. Also, it's large enough that we can move our electric operations there as well. So we can free up the electric property for redevelopment in the future as well. So really the economic development angle of this is that we're removing a low return property and making it a higher and better use by moving public works out of the downtown area, repurposing that land to something much more appropriate to what would surround the Performing Arts Center, and feel that this is an approach with an appropriate price. City Council has before them the price of the cost to the city of $12.5 million for the acquisition of the property in the building. There will be an upfit cost, and we've worked with consultants on identifying that cost. That cost really will be taken care of through the transaction of our property, which will occur in the coming years. I will say also that this proposal indicates that Mr. Sabata would occupy his current property for up to 2 years following the transaction, following the closing on the property. And the city would, during that time, be able to sell its property, upfit his building, and so forth. So once he has vacated, we upfit the building. So this has been a well-considered opportunity, and I view it from an administrative standpoint and a benefit to the citizens standpoint and a benefit to the city operations standpoint as a win-win-win. And I commend the City Council on working through this project and all the due diligence that they have put into the considerations that are involved and understanding exactly some of the more complicated aspects of it. And I think that where we are is a good place, and it's going to be good for the citizens going forward. Mm-hmm.
John, do you wish to add anything?
I suppose I can't help myself. Mayor, I'm going to reiterate what you said. This is a big deal for all of the citizens. And as you all know, my job is limited to giving legal advice, but I'm going to step out of that limited role and give high praise to the council and the staff for achieving a very beneficial arrangement for all the citizens of the city of Kirkwood. I've been here over 40 years in this various capacities. And the relocation of the Public Works facility predates the KPAC development. That is a discussion about the fact that we have a Public Works facility within the downtown area has been discussed as long as I can remember, and how it just doesn't fit there. Obviously, once KPAC, Kirkwood Performing Arts Center, was fully developed, it became much more obvious that it really does not fit there. I was involved in discussions and various things trying to determine where the Public Works facility could go if it was not in downtown. There was even mention of putting in a park. If you can believe that, there was mention of putting it in other cities, in St. Louis County, because we couldn't find a viable location for the Public Works facility. So the city council was confronted with this problem of trying to find a parcel of ground with a building that would service the Public Works facility, or going out and buying a piece of property that doesn't have a building that serves, and then building the building. And as Mr. Hawes just articulated very well, all of that transaction led the city council to realizing that we did have an opportunity. And the council astutely took advantage of that opportunity. I suspect people will say, well, you know, did you have this property appraised? And it was my opinion, and it remains my opinion, that the appraisal process was not reflective or appropriate under these circumstances, because we all know, if you've ever bought a home or sold a home, you look at an appraisal and they try to determine comparables. I want to compare my house to somebody else in the neighborhood. We didn't have that here. We couldn't find any comparables. So we hired a consultant, PGAV, to look at it, to determine what is in the best interest of the city from its overall plan for the city. Armed with that information, armed with other information provided by staff, the city council, in my humble opinion, took advantage of this opportunity. And I think this was a one in a lifetime opportunity to seize upon this property, which became available, and then be able to move the Public Works facility over to that property. And again, this is a fairly sophisticated transaction with a sophisticated seller. He still has a business to operate. He wants to be able to operate that business for up to 2 years. So once we close on it, and not until we close on it, the mayor now has the authority to sign the lease agreement that will allow Mr. Sabata to continue to operate his business for up to 2 years, and we'll be paid for that. We're going to get good rent over that 2-year period. So from my vantage point, it is a very astute business transaction that benefits all the residents of the city of Kirkwood.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you, John. Any questions or comments from council? I'll go, if everyone say, I'll just go in order.
Yeah, sure. I would
Councilmember
just-
Zimmer?
I would concur with Mr. Hessel. This was a once and forever opportunity for the city to benefit the residents by finding a good location for public works. It's not something that comes along very often. We don't know when it would come up again, if ever, because there's not a lot of extra spaces in Kirkwood where you would want a public works facility. So I think, and it took us many, many years to get to this point. So I think this is going to be, as Mr. Hawes said, a win all the way around.
Councilmember Dewey? Yeah.
I would just say yes to what everybody else said. This has taken a long time, and a lot of work and a lot of thought and a lot of back and forth. I think this is, I don't think we could have done better. I really don't.
Councilmember Gibbons, anything?
Okay. Very excited about it.
All right. Councilmember Litso.
Well, I wanted to thank and congratulate you, Mayor, and Mr. Hessel and Mr. Hawes and all the attorneys at Lewis Rice that helped put this whole thing together. We have been talking about this for a long time. Back in my first term under Mayor McDonald, we were mulling the idea of the highest and best use of public works. And here it is finally coming to a new reality. in my view, this whole idea extends the idea of a transformational change to downtown Kirkwood, where we can move this, industrial use to a location that really is suited, for the operations in the city, and then frees up this property for exciting new things to come. So I want to thank all of you who were involved and fellow council members who fully supported the whole idea. This is a very big deal.
Councilmember Sears, anything?
It is a big deal. And, I think considering what I said before, we have a situation here which also benefits the people of the city of Kirkwood, also is good for taxpayers, also works to protect city employees, also works to protect our vehicles. Well, not also. In addition, I guess, protects our vehicles and our city's pile of salt. So, and the council members were able to, within a reasonable period of time, take all of that into consideration and actually come up with a decision. We're ready to vote tonight. Voted unanimously for this very important, and I agree, very exciting proposition.
Councilmember Wertz, anything?
Hey.
All right. I think everybody here is excited about this.
Very.
Right, seeing nothing else, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin,
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey,
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons,
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo,
Yes.
Councilmember Sears,
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz.
Yes.
Resolution passes. We'll go to city council reports. Anything to report? Nothing to my right. Nothing to my left. All right, Chief Administrative Officer report.
Yes, Mayor, I would like to report that the city did win an outstanding planning award from the APA Missouri chapter for its the Outstanding Planning Award for Public Outreach Program, Project Tool, and Community Initiative for its Vision Zero Action Plan. This is a great effort, and I think it's excellent recognition from the American Planning Association, which looks into all the various aspects of what goes into this type of project and program. And I want to commend Maggie Dewey and Kara Wertz and Mark Zimmer for serving on the Vision Zero task force that helped put together everything that went into this Vision Zero action plan. And we're going to receive the award next Thursday at the APA annual meeting in Kansas City. And Ms. Dewey is, I believe, going to be able to make it there. And Mr. Zimmer and Ms. Wertz are certainly welcome to come if they can make it as well. So just let me know.
Great. Great news. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's very, very neat.
And everybody on the council, we appreciate your support.
Yeah, but the three of them, I mean, in staff, obviously, but up
And
here.
staff,
Yeah.
yeah, I do want to mention that
Yeah.
Jonathan,
I was just
Yeah.
gonna say, it doesn't happen without Jonathan.
unbelievable job
Not happen.
to
And
ma-
Chris.
continue with this. Mhm.
Yeah, doesn't happen without you
Thank you.
guys.
Anything else, Russ?
No, that's all
All
I have.
right, city attorney report. All right, city clerk report.
Yes, Your Honor. I have the report of the October 4th, 2023 meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. The following action was taken. By a vote of 9-0, the commission recommended approval of a special use permit for an indoor amusement facility, Little's Loft Play Cafe at 117 West Argonne Drive. A public hearing before the city council is required. We are going to move forward with scheduling the public hearing on November 2nd, 2023. And that's all I have.
Great, all right. Next meeting of city council is 2 weeks from tonight, 7 PM on October 19th. This meeting is adjourned.